Welcome into Backstretch Banter on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio Channel 90. Chris Childers. I got a different co-host today. Mr. Elijah Burke from RFK is hanging out, and we got some really good guests. Kevin Gladman is going to be on the program. You might remember I teased him last week, but he had to work. He got busy. There was things happening. I've been told the 17 car is currently being scanned, so Kevin is good. He is here. And then a little bit later, we're going to have the crew chief of Brad Keselowski, Jeremy Bullins, on the program for the number 6 car. But let's say hi to our guy, Kevin Gladman. Kevin, the underneath mechanic for the number 17. How are you, sir?
Oh, not too bad. About yourself?
Good. Well, last week you were super busy doing your thing. And this week it's being scanned. And I just kind of want to start there. Because give us an idea of what your week looks like. We just went from Sonoma. Before that, we were in Chicago. Now we're going to Dover, so completely different kind of tracks. What are you doing on a Tuesday typically to prepare for a Sunday race?
This Tuesday is a little different because, like you said, we're coming back from the West Coast. So our haulers aren't even back yet, so we can't really swap out stuff and get things pulled off of there that only belong on there for road courses and get back to the oval track stuff. So it's a little bit of a waiting game, but mainly just focus on the primary, get all the changes the engineer and crew chief want done, and then get the height set for tech, make sure your weights are right, and then go to Hawkeye, scan it, and then do your underbody scan, which is where it's at right now, and then work on the backup car, make sure it's swapped over and ready to go, and then wait for the hauler to be here tonight and work on that tomorrow.
I think lots that goes into it, right, Eli?
Yes.
Elijah, how much do you see as you're doing social media, you're doing all that? Give us an idea, guys, because everybody thinks everybody's under this one umbrella. How much of it is compartmentalized, and how much do you guys actually see each other?
Well, we work in 2 separate buildings, so we usually get to watch. There's actually a camera we have set up to tell us like what state the cars are in to go get content. We did a video last year on a lot of different members in the shop of like taking everyone through a week in the life of these different positions that you may not normally see. And
sure,
Kevin was kind of one of them, a little bit him, and I think John of the 6 originally was the underneath mechanic, walking through what that looks like. So that was an education for me on all that goes into their week. And the way John put it, and you might put it differently, is he said that I basically make sure that stuff doesn't fall off the car.
Pretty much.
In the race. Like, if it falls off the car, it's my problem.
Yes.
And that's it. And I think we did another meme video where there was a trend where people were using, like, anything for a jack stand. And it was like, could be an action figure, it could be whatever. And it's like a guy like wrenching on his car in his garage, and you look over, and it's like, a bottle of Castrol is holding the car up when you hear like a creaking sound. So we did that with you. I think it was a bottle of Castrol and like a die cast on top of it, and you had that fear of like, oh no, my time has come. So Kevin's a good sport about being in the content we need him to be in, and we do see a lot with him. It's even though we're in separate buildings, like we go over there anytime and just kind of. The setup plates where he works is normally where we're at, I feel like, because that's where your cars for the week are. So we definitely cross paths a lot, even outside the racetrack on the weekend.
Yeah. And then I always
lots of action.
I like messing with him from time to time when he's trying to get that shot, and I'll come up and smack something on the car, and he's got to start over, just keep things going.
Yep, and that hurts productivity, but you know what? That's the culture we have of fun.
That's right.
I've learned that they like to mess around a little bit with the social media team, who does such a good job of spreading the word and making it interesting. I'm still reeling in Elijah's brilliance from all the Cinedust that we had a couple weeks ago, which was really I'm assuming, Elijah, that was you behind most of that, and I just thought it was so well done. It was really cool how it all kind of works hand in hand with you and the sponsors, the team, and it's pretty cool.
Did we have some of that stuff in the car just in case we parked it in Victory Lane for Chris to do the?
Oh yeah, we had a bottle of Cinedust reserved just in case he made it to Victory Lane. He was gonna have the cup of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. You can get like the single serves, put some milk in it. Like, we were so ready for if he won, and I'm like, at the last 20 laps, he was up there.
He was up there.
He was there. If we just had, I guess, fresher tires or something, I don't know what exactly it was, but Kevin, I don't know how much Cinnamon Toast Crunch you ate that week, but I think I ate every meal with Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and it's like I don't want to see it for a while, but it's just that good that where I need to eat it again.
It's the best cereal.
Those Hershey Kiss Cinnamon Toast Crunch things were unreal. Those were really good.
People
off
like
the
those.
charts.
Yeah.
You gotta love when the sponsor is something very tasty.
Yes.
And, that one is in particular. Hey, I was looking at your background. I find it real. So you went to the University of Northwestern Ohio, and you studied automotive, and your school had a motorsports team. Now, I cover college athletics for a living mostly, and I've never heard of a motorsports team at the college level. And that's got to be the most unbelievable thing for a college kid to experience an actual team at that level and kind of understand the responsibilities. Please explain what you did in college.
A lot of other things too, but the mechanical side of it, yeah, they
Who didn't?
right. They did a lot of things, I think, hand in hand or talked back and forth with a lot of the race teams. I think specifically RCR, because we ended up with a couple of their old cup haulers as our dirt haulers for the modifieds and stuff, but they structured it so close to how a shop is ran in this environment that whenever I fortunately got hired on at RCR in the beginning, that I got there, that I called my head motorsports instructor, and I told him, I was like, man, it's eerily similar, like how you guys toe the line there and hold everybody to a high standard in that shop to how they do it in the Cup Series, like in an actual shop. So that was huge to help with the learning curve, because I mean, you're going from dirt, not knowing anything about asphalt, and going in the asphalt environment and have to relearn a lot of things and how to do things and whatnot. But that place does really good. They I'm not 100% now. I know it's grown a lot. They bought the old YMCA building and turned it into an actual race shop there.
Oh, wow.
So they've got, I think, all 4 dirt modifieds and 4 street stocks in there. They have a diesel pulling truck club, an ARCA club, over the wall kind of club where they'll go and do some ARCA races. A bunch of other things it's grown into. But yeah, we jigged and built the street stocks from scratch. Like, those chassis are all hand built by the students. The engines, the transmissions, the rear gears, all the sheet metal work. I think they bought the chassis from a reputable, like, high-end dirt modified chassis builder. But the students build the engines, rebuild the Burt transmissions, the Winters quick changes, all that stuff. And then you, like, say, like me with my underneath background, that's what I started in UNOH, was I did all the transmissions, the rear gears, all that stuff. So that was my deal. And then I also took care of the haulers, like anything mechanically that went wrong with the trailers or, the tractors. They had a Volvo deal, so they sent them to a shop. But that kind of stuff, that was my kind of area that I worked in. And then the business side, and then doing the high performance, the alternate fuels, and automotive and diesel, is just basically turned a 2-year school into a 4-year school by adding all that stuff. But
that's like the only school in the country that'll allow you to have like that type of program or education around just grassroots racing, it sounds like, but also prepares you for a little bit of high level stock car racing.
Oh, for sure. They also own their own dirt tracks. So they own Lima Land, which is a 3/8 high bank dirt oval. And then you've got Eldora right down the road, so they'll run there. And then the last year or 2 that I was there, they started going out and running Lake of the Ozarks, I-55, a couple other tracks in Indiana, and then on top of running the Gator Nationals in Volusia County, Florida, during Speed Weeks Daytona. That's
amazing.
I got my start. They put me on Ty Dillon's dirt car down there.
Wow.
Working with those guys, and then one thing led to another, and then I got hired in at RCR after I got out of school. So
that's crazy.
So that's incredible. What a cool story. So, and Kevin Gladman is our guest, interior mechanic for the number 17. I love that there's a school out there that gives so much opportunity to get your hands dirty. I am curious, when you look at the hands-on, like, how much do you love this? I mean, you just threw yourself in there in college, you do it, like, how much of this is purely who you are as a person?
It started at a young age. I mean, a lot of influence with my dad on just chasing what I want to do, but he kind of just let me do my thing. And he's like, I can remember the first time you ever did anything mechanically. I was like, what's that? He said, I was late for work. He said, you took a screwdriver that I must have left out somewhere and popped my taillight out on my work truck in the garage. Just got bored, just turned the screws out, popped the taillight out, and he said my turn signal wouldn't work. So I went back there and looked, and it's hanging out, and the screws are still on the bumper. So I had to put that back together before I went down the road. But no, my dad and my best friend Donald, his dad, Big Don, they used to race buggies together with the Hijackers Club.
Nice.
Back in the day, and which is a lot of like old pipe buggy, short course, head-to-head, hill climb, slalom course kind of racing. And so that's what we grew up around as kids. And then him and I, when I got out of the sport in 2019, we started racing side-by-sides because that's like the new buggy racing. And and all that, and like we've always looked up to Champ Off-Road and that bigger short course series and stuff is like something that's kind of like out of reach because it's just like, you know, kind of like kid growing up looking at NASCAR kind of thing, you know. And so we raced locally with those and had a lot of great success with that. And then this past year, this off season, heck, Dad pulled the trigger and I built him a pro buggy in my garage, my little 2-bay garage in Troutman, and they've been out running this year and broke a lot of stuff, just figuring out what works, what doesn't. So, but it's when it does stay together,
in your blood,
it's pretty fast.
man.
Yeah,
I
you
can
just
tell.
can't. You can't. Yeah, you just can't.
You
get rid
love
of
it. I love it.
It's crazy, but you gotta
Our
love
kind of guy there, Elijah. I love that.
That is. Oh, and you mentioned your dad. I mean, speaking of dads, I think you just became a father a couple months ago.
Yeah, 7 months ago.
That's
Wow.
crazy. How has that been? Because I'm a future. Well, I guess I'd call myself a dad now. My wife's expecting we're getting to the end of it. Like fatherly advice. Like how has it been working in the racing industry with like you have someone else you got to be responsible for and take care of, and it's also got to be the biggest source of joy at the same time.
Man, I mean that whole process, like going to the hospital, knowing it's about to happen, and everything else, and whenever your child does make their grand appearance, it's like I've won the Daytona 500 on the 3-car, and that was like the coolest experience ever, but this trumps it by a million. I mean, you just can't put a number to it or anything. Like it's the coolest thing ever. And like coming home, like I messed up. I made a rookie dad move. So we got back from Sonoma. I go in the house. It's 4:30 in the morning, and should have put 2 and 2 together because Kylie, my fiance, when she takes Hallie to daycare, because she's a nurse down at CMC, she gets up at like 4:30 in the morning, gets Hallie up, gets her a bottle, gets her squared around, lets her play while she finishes getting ready, and then she drops her off at daycare at 6. Well, I go in there at 4:30. I'm gonna lean in here and give her a little kiss, you know. Did that. She rolled over once, picked her head up, looked straight out the bars on the crib, and saw my legs, and then she looked up, and then it was like, "Feed me now," And then I gave her a bottle, and then she was just game on from there. I'm like, we're not going back to bed.
Nope.
It's like, so I guess I'll take you to daycare. So I ended up seeing a sunrise in California and a sunrise in North Carolina in 24 hours.
It's a shame.
That's fatherhood.
Yeah.
And fatherhood in the world of racing. No question. I can't even imagine.
It makes traveling that much harder.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing if you got a significant other at home, but when you got a little one at home and you know they're stuck with them like all weekend, especially because she was sick this past week. Oh yeah,
gotta be
guilty. So then you're like, she's stuck at the house, can't do anything because taking care of her, she's not feeling too good. But I mean, you got to do what you got to do, I guess. Yeah. Really.
There's your fatherly
predictions
advice,
on
buddy.
that are right. I'm gonna feel guilty.
To all the men and women out there that are thinking of having children and have a job where you travel. Well, here's some fatherly advice.
And the other thing that works against you too is like we're not like the rest of the world on our time off. Like we get a Monday and a Thursday if you're lucky. You know what I mean? So, and everybody else is off on the weekends. So Kylie's off on the weekends.
I was I'm sure your fiance isn't off the same days.
No. So it's like you see each other like when we're all off of work and we're about dead tired anyways. So it's just you make it work. She's into racing too. She's been to a lot of NASCAR races and stuff like that with her family, and she gets it.
Yeah. I think in this world you probably have to have somebody that understands the world.
Yes.
Because it can be probably a little bit overwhelming for somebody who's not a gearhead, who's not into racing, who's not somebody that understands the lifestyle. But I'll tell you what, for those that make it work, it is a great, great, great business. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We got more with Kevin. He is the mechanic for the number 17 underneath. It's pretty amazing when you think of all the different parts and pieces and guys that go in to everything. You know, Kevin's the road mechanic. There's so much that we've talked to so many different parts of this team over the last 2 years that I think the average race fan would be like, I didn't even know that was a job. So it's kind of cool how we've been able to shed some light on everything. We'll take a break. We got more with Kevin when we come back on Backstretch Banter. We're back here on Backstretch Banter, Sirius XM NASCAR Channel 90. Chris Childers, Elijah Burke is with us from RFK Racing, co-hosting today, and we got some great guests. One of them, our guest over the last few minutes, Kevin Gladman. He is a mechanic for the number 17 car, road mechanic, underneath mechanic. There's so many pieces and parts that go into this. And the number 17 car has had a lot of success this past weekend. Things went well. Certainly, Chris has had a good season. Would like to get into victory lane, but things have gone pretty well. How many, like when Monday comes around and you reflect on a week and let's say it's top 10, do you ever think back on how many pieces, people, hands, the process went into that top 10? And what would the average person not understand about how much goes into that finish?
Man hours. Like everything's streamlined now with this car as far as like the assembly process, because we're not hand building everything, but just the technology, the time, just like being so meticulous on, like, it's not just like when we get the car, it's pretty much ready to go, minus a few changes here and there and fluffing on a couple things, but all the hard work and heavy lifting is done at the shop as far as the guys assembling it and like how you assemble it, what tolerances or how you put this on or whatever. It is all very relative to where you're going and what speeds you're going to be running and all that. So there's so much forethought into this that it's like, man, you know, that little bit of mishap here, that mistake on pit road or getting knocked out of line here, this guy, you know, over driving over his head and messed us up or whatever, that just, it stings a little more knowing, because it's not just you, because you're the one there, but it's, you gotta sit back and think of all the other men and women here that have put all that time in it during the week, and some of them, they actually, just to keep everything going or something new that we find or whatever, they're here on the weekends when they're supposed to be off, you know, assembling and working on the car. So, or if something's not right and has to get changed, somebody's got to come in and fix it, right? So we can't because we're gone. So yeah, it's just, it hits a little harder. No matter whether you have a good finish or a bad finish, it's just, you think about everybody else that's trying to make a living doing this other than yourself back here, you know. So,
and I don't think many race fans think about that aspect, which is why I asked the question, which I think is an interesting part of this business.
Right. And none of these cars are built like, oh, okay, yeah, we're going to Dover this week. Let's do this, and this. Like, nah, that planning for this car was done, like, I want to say at least 3 weeks to a month ahead of time.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? Like, you're already planning out that far, like, what chassis you're going to use.
Yeah.
You know, this, that, and the other. What parts you're going to reuse from the previous short track that you ran that you can apply to this. You know what I mean?
Why does it have to take that long? What's the
turnaround time on, you know, QC on parts, or waiting on orders to be fulfilled to come in from your vendors and stuff like that. So, you need, you know, whatever, or like you go to Daytona or some other place, you know, you want these style brakes or this serial number hub with this many miles on it kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like you try to, in some places, some tracks are just way harder on stuff. So you try to find all your lower mileage stuff and put it on there because you know they're never been beat around yet.
Well, for parts like that too, when you were working in racing pre-next gen, right, with like RCR, what was the quality control aspect like of those type of parts going on in your car? Was it just, we're going to use these parts, they're probably not going to get reused, or was there like the type of scanning process we have now, like the Faro equipment? How did that look compared to now, where I feel like I'm always watching someone do some kind of quality control test because we only can have, you know, so many parts or so many chassis, and make sure that it's like, 7 chassis in a rotation. Like, you have to make sure that everything is up to date, or maybe it's like, hey, we need a new one. Like, what was that difference like, and how does that change your job?
makes my job easier because, like I say, like the suspension guys do a lot of the legwork on that, and they hang it. And even back then at RCR, the suspension guys would hang it, but the lifespan of these parts are far longer. They're like a lot longer than what they used to be. Like there's parts back then with the old car that was like you're fan fabbing everything, and you're using lightweight materials that will fatigue faster, obviously, because this car is built pretty stout on some certain areas of it, like suspension wise. So, but you'd wet mag a lot of the other stuff because it was all steel, and this stuff's aluminum. You do a little bit different QC on that, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff with the old car. You would run it maybe once, twice, and it would either go to the Xfinity or it would just go to used parts and sell it.
Wow.
Yeah, there was like there's a lot of things on that old car that was just throwaway, but we were able to make them cheaper. You know what I mean?
And that's not just because the parts didn't work how you wanted. It's just because we've used the good out of them, essentially. Like they could break the next time.
Yeah, they yield. They're constantly flexing, and with the old car, there's certain areas you wanted to do things in whatnot, and then it's just the fatigue rate was just at a point to where, because I mean, like you're loaded up in the corner, your right rear and right front are over 3,000 pounds of load.
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
So, but that's it's insane the all the fatigue and everything else. But
that's interesting.
From that old style of doing things to now is like Wright brothers to NASA. What I mean? With the technology that we use on stuff.
Yeah,
heck, we got X-ray machines.
I remember going to when I was at Ganassi. One of the main things that we'd always point out on tours is like the suspension is like 1960s, like pickup truck arms are still on these cars. Like the technology has not changed in NASCAR. Now in the next gen, obviously it's different overall. I was gonna say too, like with you talk about your time at RCR and then at RFK, like you came over here and I think 2 years ago in 23. But in between those, you went to be a diesel mechanic for a bit, so you kind of stepped out of the sport, even having kind of the background education at UNOH, and like I think you wanted to be a driver originally and all this. What made you want to come back, and I guess what made you want to like step away for a minute?
So yeah, like I got it when I was over, because I went from RCR over to JGR on the Xfinity side for a little bit.
Okay.
And then it was like they had a bunch of stuff going on back home, like with gas and oil boom. And and I was like, all right, and the Xfinity stuff was like very taxing as far as like an older guy, especially if you've been in the Cup Series, because your only day off is whatever time you get back on Sunday, then you're back in the shop Monday.
Really?
Yeah, at least
that's how Xfinity.
That's all
really.
At JGR. That's how it was. Yeah, so it kind of it wore on.
And
you.
Your pay's probably a lot less too, right?
Not really. I mean, it was it was comparable. I mean, it wasn't like.
But you're working way more.
Yes.
So,
the bonus structure.
Bonuses.
Yeah. Well, we had Rowdy because I was on the 18 car, so we had
you were set.
We were winning all the time.
How could you leave after all that? Right. It must have really been booming back in Ohio.
Yeah, it was, and like my dad and I had a little plan set together to be able to like get in on that, but then COVID hit and just completely wrecked everything, just like anybody else went through, right? So, but then I got into doing what I was originally going to school for, which was diesel mechanics and stuff, and I really enjoyed doing that stuff. So, worked on a lot of heavy duty Ram pickups, diesel stuff like that, and then coming back down here, I was up there for a while. We did the side-by-side racing and all that, which was a lot of fun. And then it's like, kind of ready for maybe get back in it. And Cisco, of course, was hounding me about coming down. And then
car chief.
Yeah. So I said, all right, fine, I'll come down. So I came back down here, and it was an eye-opening experience knowing, I mean, I could work on the old car with my eyes closed. And this car was like, this is what? You know what I mean?
Really?
We're doing what
Reading
now?
the book upside down now.
Yeah, I'm like, what is this giant carbon thing under the car?
That's right.
Yeah.
Where's all the suspension parts and everything? It's just an underbody. What? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's probably like a lot of relearning for you.
Oh, it was. But it was fun.
How long did it take to get comfortable?
To get comfortable, it took probably till we knocked off that first win, in 23.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, actually, I wasn't even there for it.
You were there for the next two, though.
I was there for the next two. I was I took vacation and went because they graciously give us at least a week off that road guys can rotate off with shop guys.
Yeah.
And because the season's so long.
Yeah.
And
I was gave you more vacations.
Yeah. I was actually up in Wisconsin with my dad and Donald, short course racing up there.
Oh.
I was sitting there with the rental car with the doors open and just blaring it, just listening to you guys. We walk away with it, which was awesome. And then we did it back to back, so that was cool.
I was gonna say, they you had to be there for at least one of them. They're like, Bush, like, I got to win one more.
Right.
Kevin wasn't here. I got to win one more. And then he's like, I'll win another one at Daytona for him, too.
Yeah,
Why not?
So made it 3.
What a guy.
How about we do that again this week?
Right.
Dover?
Yeah.
Let's get back.
Chris really
Let's
likes
get back
Dover.
to victory lane. That would be beautiful.
So.
It's been beautiful to talk to you. It really has. It's been cool to get to know you, your story, what you do. And that's why I love what we do here on this show, because we get to go inside the race team. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I appreciate
anytime.
you, and
thank you,
good
man.
luck in Dover this week. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Kevin Gladman, underneath mechanic for the number 17, driven by Christopher Buescher. We'll
I'm
take
actually
a break.
Chris's stunt double.
You
What's
are
that?
one of the few that look like Chris on the team. You and
Let me
Cisco
see.
are stunt
Let me-
doubles.
I guess. Yeah, okay.
There's pictures out there where
Yeah.
I've actually had to sign a couple autographs on the way to the car. They're like, "Hey, Chris," I'm like, "I'm not Chris, but okay."
Really?
Sign my
This
name
man
on
in
it.
the Fast and All Fire suit. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
true.
him.
Yep.
Chris Buescher.
Do you have the Buescher haircut?
It's sometimes I do. I let it gets short and
Okay.
then I let it grow
Yeah.
out. But yeah,
Because that would be kind of wild if two guys were walking around with the same cut, kind of the same face.
I tried to get him to do Chris's walkout to Bristol, the night race, to be with the real Chris Buescher's "Please Stand Up," and then just
Yes.
all of us walk out at the same time. But nobody wants
Yes.
to do it.
He wants
Kevin,
that.
thank you, sir.
Yep.
We'll take a break. Come back. Jeremy Bullins next, the crew chief for Brad Keselowski and the number 6 Ford Mustang. We'll do that next right here on Backstretch Banter. We're back on Backstretch Banter, Sirius XM NASCAR Channel 90. We get ready for Dover this weekend. We got some cool sponsors that we're working with. The number 6, driven by Brad Keselowski, will be the Build Submarines Ford Mustang. Trimble is sponsoring Chris Buescher, and the number 17 and Castrol, the engine, will be on Ryan Priest's car. This is for women's basketball star Alyssa Thomas. She has helped design the paint scheme this weekend. She is a superstar professional basketball player, and she is all about a really cool look to promote herself and her brand. So that's coming this weekend, and as somebody is a women's basketball fan, I cannot wait to see what that looks like. But in the meantime, let's talk to Jeremy Bullins right now, who is the crew chief for Mr. Brad Keselowski and that Build Subs Ford Mustang this weekend. Jeremy Bullins, welcome back. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, we are coming off the road course portion of the last couple of weeks. We had Chicago. We went to Sonoma. Overall, on the road, Brad Keselowski, last 2 weeks, your impression, sir?
It's been a fun couple weeks, honestly. Like, obviously Chicago didn't get the results that we wanted, but had a really solid practice, a really solid qualifying effort. Sonoma qualifying was tough, practice was tough, just because the track changed so much. Whether it was the K&N rubber or just the track kind of not being cleaned up for us. But, the second group went way faster than the first group, and that kind of parlayed, practice and qualifying. But in the race, it felt like, it's like, okay, like race starts out, we start passing guys, like, okay, we got pretty good speed here. Flip both stages, trying to get track position. And if the race had gone green, I felt like we were going to finish around 6th, based on speeds and where things were looking. Obviously, we got that late caution and opted to put tires on and be on offense instead of defense. And the first restart really didn't go our way. We were in a really good spot for a second, and then we weren't, and lost a bunch of spots. But managed to get back to 11th, which was, a really good day to be disappointed with 11th.
I think Brad's obviously self-aware that road courses in this era, they're not his strong suit necessarily, but I feel like from my perspective, he's put a lot of extra effort into learning how to get better at Chicago and Sonoma. And this weekend, I was like, he was a contender up there the entire time. What have you seen in terms of the extra effort or studying that maybe Brad's done to kind of take that and navigate it?
Yeah, I don't think it's any secret. It's not been a strength, right? Especially with the next-gen car. But I would say if you just look through history, Sonoma's probably been, one of the weaker road courses for him, and feel like, there's other places where he's excelled and done well at, and just never quite been able to put it together at Sonoma. And there's been a lot of effort put in on the car side of okay, what can we do better for the braking zones, and what can we do better for turn and rear grip and all the things that you need to be fast. And then there's been a lot of work put in at the simulator and studying film and studying the OTD data and everything that we have to look at. And, I think it's just been a combination of everything, trying to, not leave any stone unturned. And, fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to look at it, whether you're a fan of it or not, this series has added a lot of road courses, right? So I think when we us old guys, when we all started out, there was 2 road course races a year, and they were almost afterthoughts, right? It was like, like you didn't put a lot of extra effort into it, and you didn't necessarily have to back then, and now it's like you really got to work hard at it, and you got to study it, and you got to work on your race cars, you got to work on your racecraft, you got to work on all of it, because it's too much of a piece of the pie now.
Huge piece of the pie, and I get it. You got to put a lot of effort into it, and Brad certainly has done that, and you could see it. I mean, you could just see how much better he is on the road courses now with the extra effort. Let's go back into the race. Let's revisit a pit stop. Let's go back to the second pit stop for Brad. As happens in NASCAR and racing, there are moments that are, a little different, a little crazy. From your perspective, what happened in that moment?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, we're our pit stall is right behind the 54. The 54 qualified really well, had an opening out. Felt like they were going to be fast all day. Felt like if we picked behind them, we'd probably have an opening in, which we did. And just as fate would have it, on that particular lap, we were going to be pitting with them. So that situation, you're coming in right behind a guy. You tell Brad to leave a gap for our guys to jump in between the cars. You certainly don't want to be right on his bumper, because that makes it harder for our guys. We're all aware that he's coming in, and everybody's aware that he's got the right to drive through our pit box. What wound up happening is, as the 54 came in, he clipped the tire that Telvin's holding. Telvin's standing there holding 2 tires, and he winds up clipping that tire, which, kind of upsets our stop, slows the whole thing down. And if you're Telvin, you feel like you're backed up against the wall, and you've given him all the room you can. Obviously, after the stop, everybody saw the emotions run a little high there, and that part of it is the emotions part of it, right? I think anybody that gets hit by a car is going to get emotional, and so I have no problem. I don't blame him for any of that. My opinion on the whole thing, obviously there was no penalty from the NASCAR side, and in reality, the way the rules are written, there really shouldn't be a penalty. There's no rule that was broken other than the unwritten rule of just having some respect for the guys that are on pit road. The part that bothers me when I look at it and looking back at it and watching the film from several different angles, and you're watching from Telvin's helmet camera, and you see the 54 coming at him, and he's got plenty of room to make his pit box, and then he turns a little more left, right? So you start to question the decision making at that point. Like, did you literally turn the car closer to the human? Like, I don't know. To me, that was a bit unnecessary, but certainly no rule broken. But I think, when you look at it from the NASCAR side and you allow the cars to drive through 3 pit boxes, the trailing pit box is 100% supposed to yield to the car that's coming in. But we also allow the tire carrier to stand on pit road holding those 2 tires. So, is that something we need to look at of adding, some verbiage to the rule of protecting that guy a little bit? So, I think the reality of it is, as a pit crew guy, those guys learn and know who's going to give them a little respect and who's not. And I think we know one that's not. So,
well, and from your perspective, I know that sometimes if maybe it's a super speedway, and I know other tracks as well, like the spotters may communicate, hey, pitting this lap with the guys who are in the box next to them or they're right next to them on track. Is there any communication between you and I think Tyler Allen's crew chief on the 54 of hey, we're coming in this lap, or you make sure the 54 is maybe in front of you so it's easier for him, or what's that like before you get over there?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're constantly, especially if you're, I think on either side of it, whether you pick behind somebody or in front of somebody, whatever, we all race together 38 times a year. Everybody tries to work together, tries to communicate, I'm going to stop deep if you're coming around, or stop short if you're coming around me. If I was in their shoes and had an opening out, I would plan on stopping deep, just to know that the guys on the rear of the car had room to work and so forth. So there's certainly a lot of communication there. And I think that's, talking to the 54 guys afterwards, it's like, like they understand Telvern's frustration, but the pit crew guys aren't driving the race car, and we all understand that too, right? So the emotions run high for all of us on pit road, but at the end of the day, none of us are the one with the gas pedal or the steering wheel, right? So, and that's the hard part about it is we certainly communicate amongst each other, and even the stop after that, when we were getting ready to pit, I looked over at Gabehart and was like, hey, we're coming, like, just so you know, like, and to find out, like, are you going longer? Like, I don't want to be here the same lap as you, at that point. So, especially on a green flag stop, right? So, yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot of communication and corroboration between the teams in that situation, but again, it's we're not driving the cars.
Not driving the cars. Jeremy Bullins, our guest, crew chief for the number 6. Do you think the rules should be rewritten for what happens on pit road?
That's a tough one. I think, and like I said, there's no rule that was broken. He's coming to pit road. He's got every right to drive through our pit stall. I have no problem with that. I told Gabehart after the race, like, look, at the end of the day, he didn't do anything illegal. Like, I get it, right? And I do think there are guys. If there are drivers that if you look that are more notorious than others for, it's the brushing the guy back, right? Like they're going to, it's advantageous. At the end of the day, we're racing them at that point. We had run him down and caught him. So at that point, it's advantageous for him to try to slow our stop down and build a gap to us to protect his position. So I understand why. I understand the strategy. I get it, right? But I have a problem when I'm watching one of my guys' helmet cams and I see a guy turn the wheel towards him, right? Like, I'm not okay with that. And so I think that's where, should there be a rule change? I don't know. Does somebody need to have a conversation about that? Probably. But, I don't know that the rule necessarily needs to change.
Jeremy Bullins, our guest here. He is the crew chief for the number 6. For Roush Fenway Keselowski, the Build Submarines Ford Mustang this weekend, going to Dover, coming off of Sonoma. Sonoma certainly was a lot of fun across the board, interesting race. But now we go back to something a little bit more familiar, a short track. And I think a lot of people are really excited to get back to a short track. From your perspective as a crew chief, and we'll preview Dover in a minute, but you're essentially the CEO for that team, right? How different is your management style and duties when you're at a super speedway compared to a road course, compared to a short track, etc.?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think that, as a whole, probably not much. I think the deliverables, if you will, are the same week to week as far as, getting setup information out to the team to get the car prepared the way you want it. Probably the biggest thing is just the strategies are different from, and how the races play out and the things that we are concerned about change, from the different types of racetracks. So that's probably the biggest thing is, the checklist is probably the same, but some of the items that are on the checklist vary a little bit. So, some of the things that we go through and think about, at Daytona or Talladega are not the same things that we're concerned about when we go to Dover. So, I think that's probably the biggest thing that's different is, the list of work is the same. It's just some of the priorities change.
And I think overall, if you want to kind of switch gears over to Dover, I remember last year Brad was really fast. I think he was so fast. I think he had spun at one point. What's your confidence level? I mean, going back there, I feel like, and I'll recall a moment. I know the beginning of the year was tough for you guys, obviously, and there's just one reason or another caught up in someone else's mess or something. But there was a moment I feel like Brad rallied everyone around at Phoenix in the garage after getting caught up in a wreck there. Was kind of like, there's going to be better days, like, please keep hanging on. Like, now that you guys are seeing some of the, the fruits of labor and getting close to wins and, like, really having really strong cars in these past few weeks, like, are you kind of like, all right, we're finally in the clear of, we feel like we have chances to race up front for wins, or is it like, hey, we still have a while to go? What's your perspective on that?
No, I mean, for me, like, and I'm probably a little I probably look at things differently than most people, I guess. But my mindset the whole time has never been down or out or anything based on the first part of the season. I mean, certainly it's very easy to get frustrated with some of the things that we got caught up in early, and some of the freak things that happen that would take us out of races, or getting caught up in a wreck here or what have you. But for me, I've kind of always had that when I get off the plane, it's over rule, and win or lose. And I've been on both sides of this. Obviously, I've been through what we've been through this season, and battled through some of the things we've battled through this year, and I've been on the other side of it where we won 3 races in a row one year, and I didn't even know we had done that. Like I was so focused on the next race that I got told in the media center, I got asked about winning 3 in a row, and I was like, oh really? Like, didn't even think about it. Like, because to me it's just, you have to ride the wave. You can't get too high, you can't get too low. It's a long season. And I feel like if you look back at the beginning of the year, we weren't lacking for speed, right? We were showing up to places and being competitive, but we just weren't getting the results. And I'd say that's still like, it's been very hit or miss. Like I felt like we had really good speed at Chicago and get caught up on a wreck on lap 2.5, and your day's ruined, right? And then, you run all day at Sonoma and you have a shot. So I think if we can just keep ourselves doing the things that we're doing, I think everyone at RFK has worked really hard this year to make the cars better, and there's been a lot of effort on that side of it. And I feel like we're doing all the right things. And if you keep putting yourself in that position, the tables are going to turn at some point.
For sure.
From Sonoma to Dover, we continue our conversation with the crew chief of the Build Submarines number 6 Ford Mustang, Jeremy Bullins, when we come back on Backstretch Banter. Back here on Backstretch Banter, Sirius XM NASCAR Channel 90, Chris Childers and Elijah Burke from RFK. Let's continue our conversation. Jeremy Bullins with us, our guest, the crew chief of the number 6 Ford Mustang, driven by Brad Keselowski. This week it is the BuildSubmarines.com number 6 Ford Mustang. And for those that have not checked out that website, especially if you're looking for a cool career and you're good with your hands, check it out. Help the country. BuildSubmarines.com is where you get all the information. Jeremy, we're going to Dover. We've got, I think, 6 races left in the regular season before we get to the playoff. Want to get to the playoff, certainly. That's the goal. Probably got to win at this point, right? With the 6, and I know you just kind of went laser focused one race at a time, but overall, is there a thought in your head where you think it's more likely to be your week, or are you just kind of laser focused one at a time kind of thing?
No, I mean, obviously you have to look ahead and you have to prepare, but I try not to, I guess when we talk about that piece of it, I try not to let the past influence the next few weeks, right? But as we look ahead to the next 6, I mean, obviously, Dover's an interesting one, because like I see Dover's a very tough weekend, because the track is so much different in practice and qualifying than it is in the race. So you kind of have to really know how to tune your car from Saturday to Sunday. And so that's where like a guy like Brad with a lot of experience knows the feel he's looking for. So, but to me, Dover's probably one of the biggest crapshoots in the next few weeks, honestly, of who will be good. And, you see the same few guys pop up that are competitive there every time. But, I look at Indy. Indy's circled on the schedule for us. I think it's a place that Brad runs well at, has had success at. I personally love going there. It's a crown jewel. Everybody wants to win that one. I feel like, as good as we were at Pocono, we're taking the Pocono car, like, I'm fired up about going to Indy. I think Richmond is one that, I've had success with Brad in the past there, like, running really well there in the past. And I feel like we've made some good gains on the short track stuff this year, and really looking forward to that one. And then, I feel like our Speedway stuff has been good. So even if it comes down to the last race at Daytona, I feel like we have a shot. So I feel like there's opportunities for us over the next 6 weeks to get a win with the 6 car and put it in the playoffs.
You just got me real excited thinking about the Pocono car at Indy, but then really depressed thinking about last year at Indy when we had the caution come out and he was trying to stretch it on fuel and then had to peel off. Oh, yeah. That part was sad. But I will say, in terms of road courses, knowing that you guys had a standout run, I think at Sonoma, like, does that excite you for Watkins Glen? Then, like, are you already thinking about, playoff races? Like, we're thinking about them, if we can get this win and lock ourselves in, or are you more focused on the next 5-6 weeks?
Well, I mean, obviously you got to get there, right? But, like, I feel like we've got to have the attitude that we expect to win, and we're going to do everything we can to make that happen, and that's our goal. And so, like, obviously, you look ahead to the playoffs, and yes, like when you leave, Chicago and Sonoma, your instincts are to, okay, what did we do well? What did we learn? What made us better? And how can we apply that to Watkins Glen and the Roval? And I feel like if you look back at the Roval last year, it was one of Brad's better road course races. He was really strong there, qualified well, practiced well. And honestly, I think we started the year looking at a lot of those notes and trying to work from that. And I feel like we've made progress from that. So I feel like there's certainly, and I would say historically, Watkins Glen is one of his better road courses. Mm-hmm. So I feel like, we can put the pieces of the puzzle to be strong there as well.
I'm curious from your perspective as a crew chief. You said you can't ever look back. Is there anything you do, like you said, you get off the plane, you move forward. Is there anything you do that puts you in a happy place that you, with a long season, this is my escape, I can count on it, I can go to it? Does that exist for you? Because I would think you got to do something to maintain some level of sanity considering how competitive this is and how long the season goes.
Yeah, I love golf. I try to play as much as I can. I certainly have not played this year as much as I would like, but that's okay too. But I think the thing I like about golf is it's 100% on me, right? Like it's not a team sport at all. It's 100% what can you do today, and it's just the speed and the pace and the decibel level is the complete opposite of what we do for a living. So, I think that's the attraction for me, and one of the things that I've always liked about it is, all the pressure is 100% on you, and it's what can you do to be competitive. And I like to fish. I do that more probably in the off season than I do. I generally take a trip every year to the Keys in December and do some flats fishing and. Nice. Fly fishing on the flats. I mean, might as well make it as hard as you possibly can. So, I guess apparently I like things that are challenging. So, so that's probably about it.
Is that why NASCAR drivers like golf? Is because it's a sport where it's just on you? It's not the car could break this week, or it's not a team aspect. It's just, or even anyone in NASCAR, like this is just solely me.
Yeah, I think people like it just because it's fun. But I don't know. I just that's the part I like about it is we play a team sport for a living, and it's not that you're just counting on the 15 guys that you take to the racetrack on the weekend. You're counting on everybody in the shop to build the best car, and we're all working together, and it takes every single one of us, right? Mm-hmm. So when you go to the golf course, it's just you and your bag of clubs, and how good can I play today?
Yeah.
Do you golf with anybody on the team?
A couple times we keep trying to get some games organized, and schedule hasn't worked out, but we're gonna get there.
I love that. Those are always, to me, the best way to work anything out is 18 holes. Just be out there and you'll get to know everything you want to know about somebody, their character, how they operate.
I was going to say, you learn a lot about somebody playing golf with them because you see how they react to adversity in a hurry.
100%.
Yep.
It's my co-host on the College Sports Channel, Rick Neuheisel, said when he was interviewing an assistant coach, always to the golf course first.
100%.
He would know. He would know right away.
You learn a lot about somebody in 18 holes.
It's pretty amazing. Jeremy Bullins, our guest, the crew chief of the number 6 for Brad Keselowski. We are going to Dover. I know we're running out of time, but quick question. The banking, how much does it impact what happens on a given Sunday at Dover?
Well, the banking there is one of the things that really makes the track unique, and you carry so much speed through the center of the corner, and you have to set up for it. And this car lends itself to getting the back of the car as low as you can get it, close to the racetrack as you can get it. That's how you make the most downforce. But it's such a fine line of hitting the rub blocks and the limiters, and there's a lot of places that you see people, hit the limiter or hit the rub blocks and spin out, and this one's near the top of the list. Like it's not uncommon to see like some guys in practice, push it too hard, push it too far, and get too close to the edge, and wind up wiping out or spinning out in practice and doing some of that stuff. So, it's. You load the car into the banking so hard that you got to be really smart and with your decisions that you make, and try to make good setup choices and get all you can get without getting too much.
Don't let the monster get you.
That's right.
Don't let the monster get you. He's lurking. Jeremy, great man. Thank you so much. Great to talk to you again, and good luck this weekend. Thanks so much for hanging out.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Elijah, pleasure to work with you again, my friend. We are done. on the show. I want to thank everybody who helps us, Jay and Thomas and Alec and the whole crew. We appreciate everything you guys do to make it happen every week. I am Chris Childers, and we thank you for listening to Backstretch Banter.